What is meant by audit the Fed?
The Federal Reserve is sort of a quasi-government entity. Some call it a private entity, some call it a quasi-government entity, but it has so much autonomy that it does a lot of things that even Congress doesn't know about. My father always says he knows more about the CIA than he does about the Federal Reserve. And I don't think that's an overstatement. When we had this crisis last year, the Federal Reserve bought $2 trillion worth of assets. We don't know what they bought. The rumor is, and some of the information came out, that 40% of what they bought was bad used car loans and bad home loans. So whereas before 1971, your dollar had a link to gold all the way up to 71, from 71 until recently, at least was backed by the full faith and credit of usually our debt. We buy our own debt with federal treasury bills, which isn't a perfect system, but it's at least a little bit more conservative than having used car loans back up your dollar. Bottom line is we don't know, and they don't release. They don't release which banks they bought, what shares of banks they bought, and it's sort of an entity then that has no control to the people through their representatives, and that's not part of what you'd think of in a representative democracy. The Audit the Fed bill, something my dad proposed, has 313 House co-sponsors. That's extraordinary. They have like 30 Senate co-sponsors, but they can't get a vote. You have to convince one person, Nancy Pelosi or Harry Reid, or there'll be no vote. Probably what's going to happen is it's going to be stuck on a bill that gives the Federal Reserve more power. So in the end, the bill's going to be so awful that even if my dad gets the whole audit bill on the bill, he's probably going to vote no. So because the bill's going to greatly expand the Federal Reserve's power, and he's afraid they're going to water down the audit part of it too, but he's still fighting to get it intact because they'll probably pass it and then audit the Fed would happen, but he's fighting to keep the language intact. And it still hasn't come out of committee yet.